Zack Snyder's Justice League. I don't need to give this movie any sort of introduction. We all know what this is and the story behind its 4-hour release. And I'm going to be going into this review from the perspective of someone who's been pretty much a DC detractor since Wonder Woman. They haven't really impressed me since that movie came out. And Justice League Zack Snyder cut did impress me. I think undoubtedly this is a step up from the original Justice League we got. And that's kind of going to be obviously the case, right? Like, just Zack Snyder has the advantage of hindsight and a lot more time to perfect this project that was originally in his hands. And I think the end product here is good enough. This was enjoyable and improved massively in some ways. Is it a knock it out of the park success? Not really. I do want to add a cut in here already early on to just say, Joss Whedon, what the hell? Like, I didn't get into this in the actual review because I didn't think it was, like, professional enough, but I just want to say it. Why did you make the changes you made at some points? They made absolutely no sense, and there are clear reshoots, like, with the bad CGI Superman mustache, to change lines you did not need to change compared to what was originally there. There is some, like, pettiness vibes I'm picking up from what Joss Whedon changed. Like, real strange. Not just tonal issues brought in by his changes, but nonsensical ones, where he put in different lines of dialogue that are so non-consequential. It's like, did you really need to bring back actors to change, like, one thing from being a commentary on smell to a commentary on someone speaking? I do not like, it gives me just a bad feeling. Sorry, I just wanted to put that little mini rant in here before we get in the outro review, because I wasn't going to do it, but, like, honestly, low-key, Joss, what the hell? But I'm going to break down this review into a few different parts here. My first is just overall thoughts, then I'm going to get into what exactly the differences are here, how much this movie has changed without getting into spoilers, more in-depth analysis, and finally a spoiler review, where I'm at the very end going to just get in deep. But first up, my overall thoughts on Zack Snyder's cut is it's still extremely reflective of Zack Snyder's direction. A lot of people talking about this movie online seem to think like it's going to be some grand evolution for Zack Snyder. No, if you're aware of him as a guy, one, even if he has evolved, he's mostly working with footage from a while ago, and two, I don't think he's changed too much. Zack Snyder has a very specific style, and he's really good at that style, but his directorial handling has the tact of a sledgehammer in a lot of ways. Like, he's just very flashy, look at it, ooh, beautiful. And that's great for certain things. And I think, honestly, this is one of his best showcasings yet in terms of showing off where his strengths are as a director. And I'm going to give him that. Like, it was well visually handled in some ways. So visually, I think this movie is better than I expected, but there are definitely some still not polished, not finished shots. There's one specific shot I'm thinking of with the Flash early on where it's just like, wow, that's green screen. That is green screen. That's like some Goblin level green screen right there. But with all this additional screen time, it's 4 hours long. This movie does take advantage of that runtime to definitely increase my investment in the characters. The original Justice League did like nothing for me, for making me care about any of the characters whatsoever. And I basically blame that on how much it was having to juggle in its shorter runtime. So now with this bloated 4 hours, of course, they're able to do quite a bit more, especially with Flash and Cyborg, to make you go, yes, I actually give a shit about these people now. Wonderful. As well as the extended sequences with the Amazonians, I really enjoyed. And I feel like Ben Affleck as Batman once again shined here pretty brightly. Like, he's a good Batman. He's just never had a great Batman movie. It's like, just give him a I want him and okay, well, Robert Pattinson's gonna do that now. Story-wise, the biggest improvement is Steppenwolf's cutting to him, his continual communications, the actual building of stakes through what he's trying to accomplish, his redemption, all those moments. Oh my lord, did such a fundamentally better job of making this movie enjoyable to watch, because actually having a villain that's well compelled, well motivated, and personality, there's something there at least that we can buy into. He's obviously not on a Thanos level, but he's on a level where it's like, this is a decent villain who's consistent enough to go against the Justice League. Works. Well done. The pacing is going to be surprisingly not as painful as I thought, but still painful. It's a 4-hour movie. To justify a 4-hour runtime, you need to be great. And this movie's just enjoyable and good. So yes, there were definitely times where I started just like cranking out some push-ups and doing some sit-ups because it's like I can't have my brain just staring at this screen for 4 freaking hours. So blame me all you want, but it was a one-sit binge for me, and it got painful. And unfortunately, it was more painful as it went. This is definitely stronger in the earlier acts for me, and it was as it got closer and closer to the end, and I feel like just this is my gut feeling. I don't know if this is true. Zack Snyder had less and less to really work with to craft the final vision he really wanted. It didn't fit what was really built up. And that's going to be a nice transition to the second part here. How different exactly is this from the Justice League you've likely already seen? I'm going to do as vague spoilers as I can. I'm not going to get into specifics, but addressing directly the trailer we saw, the trailer makes it seem like a big chunk of this movie is going to be in like a dystopian, distant, dark side run future Earth. That is not the case. That was trailer bait, and it's misleading. So sorry. I know people are really looking forward to that. I've seen a lot of discussion online like, oh my gosh, the Joker's in the trailer. He's gonna... No. This is instead just something that is kind of similar to what we saw in Justice League, trailer bait. It's trailer bait put in the movie to get you once again excited. And I'm not going to get into details. Some people are probably already going to be like kind of mad at that spoiler level, and I apologize if you are. But I'm mad that people are going to go into that expectation and inevitably be disappointed. So I want to tamper it down. They definitely in the epilogue try and put in more to justify, but for me, it doesn't still justify. This is still a drastically better ending than the original Justice League. Like, I'm overall, for like the story here, gonna give it like a 6.5 out of 10. It's good. I have problems with it. It's certainly not Godfather level, but it's good enough. It's flashy. It's blockbustery. Great. The original Justice League, I'd put it like a 2 or 3 out of 10. Like, that is a poorly handled movie. So I give Zack Snyder a lot of credit for being able to step it up and rework it to the level it is at. I don't think it justifies the runtime. I will never rewatch this movie because of how much of my day it just took, but yeah, all right, you changed it, you morphed it into what you actually wanted it to be, and now it's a respectable superhero movie with characters I actually care about, a plot that, while I do think it falls apart, is much more justified and tonally is consistent enough that I'm not just whiplashed out of it like I was the original cut. I'm in the position now where I'm sitting here thinking, this should be the next stepping off point for the DCEU, not what we've been dealing with recently. The last Wonder Woman movie was barely cohesive, and like Birds of Prey was fine, and I largely blame those movies like stumblingness with how poorly Justice League placed all the characters. This movie does such a better job of setting up these characters to then go off on their own and build towards some next big event. There's a lot of effort in to make Darkseid a Thanos type where we're going to be dealing with him down the road in like a bigger context, and I appreciate that. That's good. They didn't force him in here. I actually think this movie would have been worse if it lived up to what the trailer kind of hinted at, where Darkseid is a major factor. Instead, we're relying on a better version of Steppenwolf, which works better. Actually, yeah, I want to say Steppenwolf as a character, much better here as a villain. Substantially so. So yeah, on all fronts, improvement. So in terms of like a comprehensive review, yeah, I'm feeling a solid 6.5 out of 10. I can definitely see this being as high as like an 8 for some people, as low as like a 4 maybe for others if you are really looking for something a bit more nuanced. Zack Snyder's not going to bring you nuance. He's going to kind of just have those moments where it's fist pumping, jaw dropping action, lots of slow-mo. And yeah, that's what it is. And I think my favorite thing about this movie is how much it's aware of what it is and it leans into it. That's a good thing to do. Just one last thing, there were still a lot of moments where I had to go like, why is that happening right now? Like, this story works a lot more than the last Justice League movie, but this doesn't entirely do away with one of the problems, which is just a whole lot of, why is that occurring? Why are the characters doing this? Why is that the response or the result of these actions? All right. Spoiler time. I'm going to be talking spoilers here. So if you don't want to be spoiled, get on out. Full going ham. Spoilers! Wow, that's a lot of dust on my hand I just somehow grabbed. So I don't remember the original Justice League movie that well. I think I mostly just deleted it from my head because it was a big waste of time. I'm sorry, it really was in my opinion. But from what I can remember and compare to this one, Zack Snyder did such a better job with the characters, and that's because he really took his time with those, like the Flash and Cyborg. Cyborg's dynamic with his dad, I'm a sucker for father-son stuff. It gets right at my heart. And so having those slower moments where we're actually seeing some emotional investment, some backstory, once again, well, it's blunt, and again, it's Zack Snyder just being like, take the story! At least it's story being there, which I'm always going to appreciate more than not. The eventual sacrifice of his father as well, I think, worked, showing his father as this fast-thinking scientist and setting up the heat being traceable. All nice. It felt a little like, would he really think of that in that moment? But sure, I can put that down enough. The character of Flash was way more consistent. His kind of being into that girl, I wish actually led somewhere. It really didn't. But the stuff with his father and him coming back, I actually felt like, oh, we got a job. It feels good for him. And his slow building of confidence in the action scenes worked well enough. I really enjoyed seeing him being so extremely powerful, but it worked better in this cut of how he wasn't confident enough to really follow through. In the original Justice League, I remember kind of sitting there like, why isn't he just kicking ass constantly? But now with his awkwardness, it's more consistent, it's more prevalent. It just obviously ended up with me actually liking the character more and buying into his arc within this film. Wonder Woman is probably the most stagnant character. She's very just her, but that honestly works with who she is, and she's not the one who needs to change a whole lot in this. She's had a decent movie. She doesn't need further growth. These other people who we're being introduced to need some form of growth. And Batman's the same way. We just kind of get Batman. And that's like the biggest disappointment, seeing him be a big flip from the last time we saw him. It's kind of just this unearned change, in my opinion, for his entire direction as a character, because it's still hinging on the Martha moment. But I just want a movie with him that actually earns stuff. That's not like this epilogue where we just get him and Jared Leto's extremely awkward, cringy Joker mouthing off at each other, and you get told a bunch of stuff that could make an interesting movie, but you're not shown any of it. So thanks for that. Love that. That's wonderful. Yeah, great. All right, and one more thing I just gotta put in here for spoilers. The whole Cyborg seeing a vision of the future thing to give us these things they put in the trailer. I get there are some people who are probably gonna think it's more earned, but in my head, I'm just thinking like, we're not actually gonna see this stuff because HBO is not gonna give, or Warner Brothers is not gonna give Zack Snyder the ability to make movies based off of his vision, his setup. So what do we end up having? Just a bunch of inserts that aren't serving much of a purpose. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope we do end up getting Zack Snyder ability to push forward the version of his universe, jumping off from this movie being the canon stepping point, but I don't know if we will. And with that uncertainty, it's just kind of like, why was Cyborg seeing the future? Why was that locked in? Was it just because cool shots? I mean, the shots were cool, but I didn't love that it's just kind of there and confusing now. And I don't think it was justified in the story very well for why he was seeing that. And I get that they're trying to build to this thing, but literally jumping into the future and showing us, oh, it's going to be Deathstroke with Mira and Ben Affleck, Batman, and Joker sit like, I don't need to see that. I'd like to be built to that and earn it, rather than just baiting me along with now something that seems I might not ever see. But the actual ending of the climax where the Flash reverses time and undoes them losing. When they lost, I actually had a moment of like, oh, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this now. And then the Flash was like, oh, no, we're not. We're not going to do this. I wish it actually committed. I get why it can't, because, it needs to have the other movies still make sense, I guess. Because, is this still connect? I don't know. But yeah, they couldn't actually follow through with having the mother boxes succeed. So instead, we get Steppenwolf beheaded and dropped at Darkseid's feet, which worked. And again, I felt quite a bit of, yeah, okay, Zack Snyder can make me go, He can't make me do much else, but he's the director who makes you go, The action's fun, the characters are better, and if you are going to watch this movie, I feel like you're going to. If you're not, you're probably not. I'm willing to bet there's a pretty hard line with a thick filter between the people who are willing to give a 4-hour Justice League movie a chance at this point and the people who are not. So, for me, I gave it a go because it's part of my job. I probably wouldn't have otherwise. I was pleasantly surprised, but not pleasantly surprised enough to really push anyone into committing their entire evening to it. I know there's going to be some DC fans who are mad about it, but that's just my honest thoughts. There was some clunkiness. There was some definite trailer bait. It was fun, though. It's good. Nothing more than that. Oh, and God, the frickin' forcing in Martian Manhunter, who did not look good CGI-wise. Anyway, guys, like and subscribe if you have not already. Hit the Patreon if you want to support what I do here, and have a good one. Peace!